welcome to Thriving Rockstar with Alex Rakin. Today's guest is Caio Kehyayan. How are you, Caio?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great. I'm great. Considering the circumstances right now, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah,
So, mhm.
I also can't complain. I'm doing pretty good. Like I have what I need here, so it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just before you told me you're in Florida right now, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. By the beach or where?
Around like Windermere on Orange Country.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so musicians these days we have or at least during this quarantine period, we actually tend to have more work because people are trying to pump things out online instead of doing that. Like instead of going out and playing shows. So, were you playing shows before the quarantine?
Yeah, I was supposed to go play Hell and Heaven in
Mm-hmm.
Mexico with Vital Remains,
Mm-hmm.
but then this was when like the virus started popping, and then like everybody got like all freaked out, and then we decided to not go to Mexico and like stay here, so we had to cancel, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But since then, like now I've been just home working like on my computer, writing some music, trying to be productive, the normal standard for musicians whenever they are home.
I hear that. Yeah, I was supposed to record a music video in April. Supposed to probably release this album we have worked on for so long, and we pushed it off so far, and we're like, all right, we're finally going to release it at this time, and then this thing happens. So,
Yeah.
but it's what can you do? You work with what you have. You know.
Yeah, it's funny because now musicians like I'm also supposed to release a record soon, but then all this stuff happened. I'm holding, and now I already have the material for the second album ready. So like I think now a lot of musicians have material ahead for their stuff. So that's good. Whenever things open up again, then it's time to just plan it out and release everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I find musicians are one of the populations that were productive during this period. I've
Yeah.
a lot of people who like had a job and then came home, like they basically just did what they did after work, but all day. Just a bunch of Netflix, and and but then some got productive and worked on themselves. But this whole time, every interview, I've been saying like, hey, this is the time to really work on yourself. So, and
Yeah.
musicians can put make material for for the coming years. So it's good. That's good. So that's what you've been working on
Yeah.
primarily. Very cool. So you're a Berkeley grad.
Yeah. I just graduated.
Oh, great. Awesome. What did you study?
I started as like a guitar player in there because when you get in, you don't have a major. And then I decided to go to like music production and engineering. So I've been like going to the studios, learning how to properly record all instruments, mixing, mastering, post production. So all sorts, all different kinds of stuff.
Yeah. That's where I started with all of that. That's really cool. One thing that drew me to you particularly was in my interview
Adrian?
with Adrian, yeah, Adrian Cowan, she told me like that you're giving her like the diet plan and everything,
Yeah, yeah.
and like you're putting her on a pretty bro program, but it's working for her. It's great, So, and I've been through all that kind of stuff myself, so it's definitely something you know, I'm fond of and aware of, and I'd love to geek out on that for a little while with you here. Um, so how are you approaching that right now? Like, are you training at home?
So right now, gyms in Florida are open in Orlando.
Hmm.
So I started going to the gym back in the last 20 days. But before that, like from March 15th to like beginning of June, I was working out at home and it was like working. I was lucky because I have this bodybuilder friend. He's like really a pro. He's like huge and he's competes every year a lot and we are like really close friends. So basically we got some stuff, some dumbbells, some resistance bands, and we were like
Mm-hmm.
doing all sorts of things. I remember one day we were like working out legs, and when he went to like do some squats, I went like in his shoulders, and he was like doing squats with me. I was like doing squats with him. Like we were
Yeah,
trying our
I've done
best,
that
you
with a
know.
friend. Yeah, it always looks funny, but like, like that's when you know you're a real bodybuilder, when you when you squat with a bro on your back.
Yeah, you saw in my stories I was doing like back workouts with my angle amp.
Yeah. Yeah, doing rows with the amp. That's
Rose,
pretty
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty smart. I mean, those things are like at least like 50, 60 pounds, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like I just bought a pair of 80s a few months ago.
Nice.
During this period, yeah, I drove down and picked those up. Man, the dumbbells are not cheap. They're like almost $2 a pound or $2,
Yeah.
but so I mean, the guy wanted like 350 for two
Yeah.
dumbbells. You know,
Oh,
yeah. I only paid like maybe two and change or something like that.
yeah. But I think the key for people that is working out at home is to blend a resistance band with dumbbells, because then you can get like super high in weight. We were doing like some chest press, and we got that really thick elastic bands. It was
Mm.
so heavy. Like I was managing to do like eight reps, and then we were dropping just with like the dumbbells. We were doing like drop sets, rest pauses, like
Mm-hmm.
compound series, like
Mm.
we're so it was like really good actually.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's always a great idea to kind of blend the two. For
Yeah,
those who don't know what we're talking about like taking those like thick, flat, thick bands, right? The round ones,
yeah,
and probably setting them up under the bench in a strategic way to, let's say, if you do.
yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, we were like setting like around our body, so
Yeah.
like our back was holding the band, and we were like,
Oh.
and then we took the dumbbells, and then we had like right here to like squeeze,
Right. Yeah, that's pretty smart. That's pretty
The only
smart.
thing that these bands like they fuck with your hand, but like I mean, at this
Yeah.
point we like fuck it.
I usually put like a little piece of rubber or whatever, like you can use a glove. There's
Yeah,
there's ways of mitigating that. Cuz like that would deter certain people, especially people who aren't deep in the fitness. So,
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I mean you can do so much with even just bands, like
yeah,
if you put enough resistance on it, you stretch it far enough. What I do,
yeah,
I have like the bands that are handles with the latches on the long
yeah,
string bands, and I'll just attach like multiple bands on one. Like instead of using the heavier band, I'll use all of the bands, right, on
yeah,
particular exercises, and then take a good step back, and then you have core involved, in trying to stabilize.
yeah,
So it's pretty good. You can get a decent workout in.
yeah.
So are you eating in a certain way too, or how are
Yeah.
you going about it?
So right now I'm transitioning to a booking season.
Mm-hmm.
So like before, like during the quarantine, I was finishing a cut season. So I was super low in calories, considering my weight and height. And I was doing like a lot of cardio per day. I had like an hour of fasted cardio in the morning, and
Mm-hmm.
then more like 35 minutes post workout.
Mm.
And I didn't have any treadmills. No, like I just had stairs, like normal stairs.
Right.
So I used to wake up, like go up and down for an hour, do my
Wow.
workout, and then go up and down for more 35 minutes. And I think right now I'm like actually cycling carbs. So for 3 days of the week, I'm like low in carbs, so around like 130.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other days I have like the other more 3 days I have medium carbs around 254, and then I have one day of the week that I can have one clean cheat meal that I can bump up to like 4,000 calories in one day and then chill again.
Right.
So I'm cycling to like now because I'm a endomorph and I store like I store fat really easy. I
Yeah.
gain muscle really easy. So now my body's like I'm showing like now you're gonna start getting more carbs. So like slowly putting them into the diet. So my body's like transitioning to like start gaining real weight.
Yeah, I'm also an endomorph. For those listening who don't know what that is, we're not aliens. So there's three body types: endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph. Right?
Yeah.
Endomorphs tend to put on weight really easily, uh, and ectomorph is the opposite. They're also called hard gainers. If you're skinny and you really have trouble putting on weight, you're probably an ectomorph. It also has to do with like kind of like bone structure, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
and I think like it's super hard to be a pure endomorph or a pure ectomorph.
Mhm.
So I would say I'm like a blend between endomorph and mesomorph.
Yeah.
But like my metabolism, it's closer to an endomorph, but my waistline is super slim. Like for like thinking about competition, like I really want to compete in classic physique because
Mm.
like to have that like classic type body, but with like big legs and like nice lats coming out, like
Mhm.
so
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
having like a slim waistline helps a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you're leaning toward mesomorph there. Yeah, I'm pretty endomorph. Like I have like a square body. I get like, I become like a
Yeah,
truck. Yeah.
yeah.
um, do you fast at all?
You mean like in dieting, like in intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
No, I do like 6 meals a day.
Okay.
I was actually watching one of like your shows, and you were talking that you had like a roommate that was a bodybuilder,
Yep.
and I'm actually close to this, but like in the seasoning area, I believe that like salt is important for the pump and everything, so I don't
Yeah.
restrict myself in salt or anything because like you need salt to bring like glycogen to your muscles.
Of
So
course.
like without salt and water, there's no pump. So
Of course. I
like I
mean,
season, I'm
es-
chill with this guy.
especially when you keep your carbs low, you need to add more salt because the
Yeah,
carbs store um, you lose electrolytes when you lose carbs, so it's important
yeah,
to put them in. Yeah, and I mean I do like longer fasts, like intermittent fast, alternate day fast. I've done like multi-day fasts. It's a really good way to cut really quickly, and you don't lose muscle. Contrary to popular belief, you can cut fairly quickly with fasting, right? I think Serge Nubret used to take Mondays off of eating. So, um,
yeah,
so
yeah. The
mhm.
the only thing that fasting, I think it doesn't work for me is like if you're gonna work out 5 6 times a week, and I believe in the intensity, even if you're cutting. Like
Mhm.
for example, if I'm doing a cutting season, I'm not gonna slow down my workout. Like I believe that intensity brings the like your like the when you're like burning like calories, like you need that intensity.
Mhm.
And if you don't have food, if you don't have fuel, like it's hard to maintain like the level here, like, and
Oh
then you
yeah, no, I
drop.
wouldn't train. I wouldn't like do any real training fasted, right? I When I train fasted, it's cardio like you're doing,
Yeah,
So you are fasting. You're doing fasted cardio in the morning.
yeah. I actually like morning. I actually gonna do my cardio after because now it's morning for me.
Right. Yeah, I hear that. It's funny because Adrian was telling me she's like waking up like at 3 p.m. She goes to sleep at like 6 a.m.
We have similar timings.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes she's like comes to like ask me a question about the diet or something. It's like 4 a.m. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like I can respond you, but it's in my normal
You're her
hours.
perfect coach then. That's awesome. Yeah, and I spoke to her about this briefly. I was like, that could work for some people because there's something called chronotypes. Like people have different chronotypes, meaning that they naturally sleep at different times. But usually the latest chronotype is like 2 a.m. or something like that. I think. But there's the hormone production when you sleep is key. So
Yeah,
I don't know how conclusive the evidence is on all that, but from what I hear, testosterone and all of that is being produced growth hormone when you're sleeping a little past midnight. So I don't know. Who knows?
yeah. I believe that like I know there is like this whole cycle that like whenever we wake up, we start producing certain types of hormones with the light. But like I would say if you have like a good night of sleep, at least 8 hours, you have the RAM and everything, it's like it's gonna be a little bit not close. It's gonna be close to what it would be, like
Yeah.
it's not perfect, but if you have your 8 hours, like it's better than like sleeping at 10 and waking up like at 5 a.m. That is, you're sleeping like, you know, I don't know. I don't see like a big difference. I tried both and my body adapt to like sleeping later. I wake up like 1, 2 p.m. I do everything I need. Then I know it's better if you have like your normal sleeping time as it should be. But like, I have like a specific doctor back in Brazil that she checks all my blood tests and everything. And last time I did it, like all my hormones were high, everything it was perfect, even with this sleeping schedule. So there wasn't like a big difference in like testosterone production. I think I was at 750
Not bad.
last time I checked.
Yeah.
So
Very good. Yeah, I mean, you know who else sleeps on this kind of schedule? Rusty Cooley. When I spoke to him, he was telling me he's a night owl as well. It's just more peaceful at night, and, him and his girlfriend live like that. So,
yeah. And I don't know, there's something about sitting to compose like and write a song like when you know everyone is at sleep and you're the only one working. There's something different.
yeah.
You're like, okay, now I'm like in my cave working.
Oh yeah. No, I know. And so yeah, that for some people they wake up early for the same reason, right? Actually, Wyatt Stav, I mentioned this in my last interview too. Wyatt is a he. I remember he had a video why I wake up at 2 a.m. Right, so he woke up
Yeah.
at 2 a.m. and then he would do all these things and he would get his work done. But then at 8 a.m. he had a job till 4 p.m. or 4 or 5 p.m. and then he'd come home and then he'd go to sleep at like 7.
Oh,
Yeah, so that worked for him, And
yeah.
for those people who like that evening time or that like deep night time, I should say, but have like a normal day job, that's probably the best thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and I feel like every time I go to the gym and I work out, I needed some time just to chill before like working with music. I'm just like, okay, so like I need like 2 hours without doing anything,
Mm.
and then I can start working. And
Hmm.
that's like I come back from the gym around 8, so I'm gonna start working on music around 11, then going until like 3, 4 a.m.
Right. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. And what's your process like? What's your it's like how has it been like your sort of creative process?
Okay, so I'm like a guitarist. So normally picking up my guitar, I open Logic, I get some like guitar tracks, and try to come up with a riff. And all my music it's riff based. Like it's not just about like. Actually, I have this project that is coming up. It's like a symphonic metal project,
Hmm.
but it's a little bit different. It has some like characteristics of like prog and like power metal as well.
Hmm.
So it's like a lot of riffs. Like I would say in one of my songs, there are like 3 other songs in like riff wise. So I just see that I do a lot of riffs. And this project, I'm glad that I work with a guy that is like a film score guy.
Hmm.
He's also a Berkeley grad and he's part of the band. So then we sit together like online. I send him the guitar tracks. Normally I do some like orchestration demos, but like, like super raw. And then I send to him. He does his work. He send me back. I keep writing my guitar stuff. And then I send the track to the vocalist back in Brazil. He records some demo vocals with no lyrics. Then with what he pronounced with no words, I write my lyrics. I send back to him. So it's a whole process.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's interesting. He just like, huh, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And you know something? I can only write lyrics if I have these like nonsense words, because then sometimes I use a nonsense word that he used, but I make it work on the lyrics. So it's crazy. But then I can write a whole lyric in like 40 minutes or less
Oh, wow.
whenever I have this.
That's cool. And what kind of themes are you writing? Like what kind of like topics?
So it's a story. It's like a methodological story. It goes. Everything is center based on like a phoenix and the meaning that she brings to life. And there is this dragon that comes from like I'm Armenian. Like my family comes from Armenia, so I took this dragon from the Armenian mythology that he has the power to absorb light. And I got this concept of absorbing light as like controlling people. So it's basically like this thing of darkness and light, like the dragon getting into the people's mind and like the phoenix trying to open up everything, and there is like the psychological part of the record and the storyline, and there's like multiple ways you can see it. Like you can see it as like a normal story, like a medieval type of movie with battles and shit, or you can see more as like a metaphor of something that you can apply to your life.
That's interesting.
So
Yeah, like it's very it's reminiscent of like Symphony X or something like that.
yeah,
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 yeah. No, I love that. That's a lot of fun. And the stuff is like similar stylistically. I'm assuming because it's like it has a symphonic element, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's cool. That's fun. Yeah, that way of working, and it's really good. It's really good having like somebody who's good with orchestration in the band. Our singer is a film composer in my band, so
nice.
he's that guy who once we put stuff down, he'll put all these cool orchestral elements, and it really beefs everything up, and it
Yeah,
sounds
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also just the bouncing back and forth. If people are writing on their own and they get stuck, I always recommend they find somebody to work with who they have good creative chemistry with, and just bounce ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
When I started my band, I was 20, right? I'm 33 now, right? So, or actually, yeah. Is that right? Yeah. I was 20, yeah. So basically what happened was I found this guy, who went to school with me, and we just started having this chemistry. And whenever I wrote something, then he would have something that kind of bounced off of that, and we just kind of go back and forth. And I used to be in person, but now we can do that over the internet. There's no issue.
Yeah.
So you basically work with audio though. You're recording in Logic, right?
Yeah.
And you guys just send stems back and forth.
Actually, I send whole sessions because do you know like the sample library East West?
Mm-hmm.
He also has East West, so basically I just like write everything in East West. My guitar tones, like I use an amp simulation from Slate Audio, and
Okay.
I think he has another one, but he just put like guitar rig on top. So
Yeah.
we basically share the same session over and over again.
Oh, that's it. It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a pain in the ass to like compress the session and then like put in the. But I mean, it's part of the work.
What do you use to send it? Like what?
Like Google Drive.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have this folder that we share like everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty easy. Like, and it's funny because I can only do production in Logic, but to mix and master, I only use Pro Tools. Like,
Hmm.
I can use Logic to mix. I don't know why. There's something about Pro Tools that I love.
When I went to audio school before I went to school for music, and it was we were using Pro Tools, but then I started using Cubase, and I've never stopped. Like I'm just, I got used to
Yeah,
that for everything.
I heard great things about Cubase. I'm just like trapped into Pro Tools because I have my iLock. I already have the license. Like
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Digidesign is one of those. It's Digidesign, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Digidesign is like Apple, and they're very much like an ecosystem thing where it's like you have one thing, you have to have everything, and
yeah,
and you're just basically locked in. It works, but you're stuck.
yeah. I don't know. There's something about the way Pro Tools is done that you need to assign everything that I love. Like in Logic, I don't like how you like to create a bus. You click on the little like circle, and then the bus goes to the right, and then you need to go there and create a track for the bus and bring it back. I just like to go like, Shift Command N, create my aux, boom, assign, easy.
Yeah, I mean, if you learn the software and you get used to it, that's
Yeah.
that's where you're going to be comfortable. And I would encourage anybody, like, you know, like people who are not into recording or haven't mastered that skill. Many people took on that the task of mastering that in this period of time as well. You know,
Yeah,
being able to record themselves properly, because maybe they didn't have to rely on themselves for that prior, but now they have to have those skills because, like, you know, all of this time where we can't meet up with each other, you can't go to the studio, so you have to learn to
yeah,
record yourself. So I think it's a wake up call to people to kind of get those skills down.
yeah,
But you know, once you get those skills down, it's a very rewarding thing because you can easily pump out demos. You can,
yeah,
yeah. I think it's something that everyone should strive to at least get down on a basic level.
yeah,
You know, for a long time, it was just like me, like the way that I transferred music was we would write all our music in Guitar Pro, and Guitar Pro was the tool that we kind of used to, because that's a tiny file, like there's nothing,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
No, it's really cool. Like I never wrote in Guitar Pro, but I know it's like my orchestration guy. He used to write in Guitar Pro, and he has like this whole session with everything. I was like, how do you do this? I was like, with orchestration and everything on Guitar Pro. I was like, holy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I like it to a degree. Like it's just easy to manipulate, you know, just writing in tab, you know.
Yeah,
It's for a guitar player, it's just very very simple, and of course, you know, you learn hotkeys and everything, and here, you know, before Guitar Pro sounded good, because modern Guitar Pro 7.5 sounds great, right, compared to what it sounded like before. Like it almost sounds like a recording. It's obviously not, but it's like, you know, it
yeah,
comes
yeah,
close, right? You can even have pedals and all these things in there, right? But back in the day, I started on Guitar Pro 4, okay? And Guitar Pro 4, like a decade ago, it was like cheesy MIDI sounds, right? And my motto was like, if I can make it sound good with that, like in such a bare mode, and like if the music could stand on its own, then when we actually record it, it's going to sound great.
yeah,
So, but we didn't keep doing it. It is a good kind of test, though. It's a
yeah, yeah.
it's a good test.
And something that it's hard, like personally for me to compose. I'm not a great keyboard player.
Mm.
Like I know the basics, but whenever I need to write a part, and of course I can't play the whole part, I need to like I have strategies. For example, I need to play a whole sequence of chords playing the same rhythm.
Mm.
So basically, I'll play the same chord over and over again, and then I just like drag around. You know,
Yeah.
it's a pain, but like it's better than not having.
Yeah.
Something that I really want to get is like the MIDI guitar controller. I
Yeah.
think that's gonna save my life for productivity and being fast.
Why is that not a common thing yet? Like that, yeah, that ought to
Yeah,
be. I mean, honestly, I got pretty fast at writing in Guitar Pro, but if I can do that like with my guitar, that'd be phenomenal. You know, if I could
yeah,
write, then I could write anything with that. You know.
yeah. I had a class at Berkeley only for MIDI guitar controller.
Wow.
Whole semester just like learning how to deal with everything. And it's crazy because when you have everything set, you can put a piano and you do a bend, the piano will bend the sound of the piano. So it's weird. You can have sounds that like it's not possible to have, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah. You know, my keyboardist is very specific on not doing things that are impossible. Like it's like he knows like the behavior of all of his different instruments, like whether it's like a piano, organ, or you know, some natural keyboard instrument, or some like old classic synthesizer. He won't do things that were not possible on those
yeah.
instruments. Like he's just very purist on that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I understand this,
Yeah.
but like if you have a sound that is going to enhance the music, why not?
Yeah.
If it's going to be a sample that your drummer is going to play through the computer anyways, so like doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have an example. There is one of my songs that the orchestration guy, he used like this. I think it's called massive horns that go super low, and the horn doesn't go that low,
Right.
but it's just like that massive like you know, like
Yeah.
super low horn. It sounds awesome. Like I don't care that a horn can't do it, you know?
Yeah, personally, I don't follow those rules, right? Well, I think it's actually cool when you do something in a way that it's not intended.
Yeah.
You know, I,
Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah. I mean, sometimes it's cheesy. You know, that's what you want to avoid, like bending piano. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean that could be funny though too, right?
Yeah, yeah, of
It could be
course.
comical. I've seen Jordan Rudess do that. You know,
I saw a video of this like jazz guy improvising, and he had like this MIDI guitar and the piano sound, and he was doing all crazy. Like it sounded awesome, you know. Like if you apply in the right, like in the right way, like it's gonna sound cheesy, but it's gonna sound cool, you know.
do you know Consider the Source? You ever heard of them?
No.
So I would check them out. Anyone who's listening here, they're one of the most underrated little prog bands. They're like a trio, and there's three guys. It's just a bass player, a double neck guitar player, and a drummer.
Nice.
And so this double neck guitar player has like one normal neck, and then one neck that's just like fretless and MIDI controller, right? And he just plays the most wacky stuff, right? And he's studied in India, so he knows these crazy Indian scales, and he plays that like on this fretless, and it's mind blowing. It's
That's awesome.
yeah, and he plays like with like weird sounds, and you know some of these MIDI controllers they've gotten better over the years, but you've seen them like work poorly where they don't track that well, especially when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
playing really fast. But I don't know, his works really well. So I
Yeah.
think yeah, that technology is definitely improved. And I don't think you even need a MIDI guitar. You can add like something. You can like add a little pickup thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the Fishman one.
Mm.
They have like really good MIDI pickup that you just like put it in your guitar. But the only thing is like I think you have to glue like a structure thing, and that's what sucks because like I normally compose with the bass guitar I have, and I don't want to have a guitar specifically for the MIDI thing. I want to have one that I can like go play live and then
Yeah,
like get back and you know
yeah.
write stuff.
I'm the
And I
same
don't want to
way.
have like a piece of plastic like glued to it.
I'm the same way. I'm like a one instrument for all things kind of guy. I like minimal things, you know, so I don't have to think like I don't have to have too much stuff.
Yeah,
I like to be as mobile as possible. I use Axe effects, you know.
nice.
Yeah. What's your gear? Like, what are you using?
Um, like right now I'm kind of like I improvise something here. Like I have like my Apollo Twin. That's my main interface. And for my speakers, I bought some like small 3.5 inches pre-Sonos monitors just because I can't stand having like using headphones for like more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I got some small pair of like cheap monitors just to like have some like sound. And then my MacBook for my audio, I use the for my amp sound, I use a Slate audio one that is called I think I forgot the name, but it's like a normal amp simulation, nothing crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Because like I normally send my DI tracks for reamping anyway, so it doesn't matter where I record.
Who reamps your guitars?
Jack Costo from Seven Spires.
Ah, nice. Cool.
Yeah, we are all buddies. Like I'm friends with like Chris and Peter Durena from Seven Spires. They
Yeah.
studied at Berkeley with me, and they are also on this project. Like they recorded, and they're part of the band as well. So we are all like we all do stuff together.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, it's funny. I almost went to Berkeley. I didn't end up going. I got accepted, but I didn't end up
Gotcha.
going. Yeah, it didn't work out. But yeah, no, like, and you finished Berkeley. It's
Yeah,
funny because a lot of people don't finish. For good,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, for good reasons they don't finish. They like go. They get picked up by
yeah.
something, and which is cool.
Yeah,
Mhm,
and for me, it's like I came to Berkeley because like I'm from Brazil,
mhm.
so I was like I really want to pursue like this career in music. So like let's go for the best. So for me, it was like I don't care like if there's like a even like a good opportunity. Like I want to finish this. Like that's my mission for
Mhm.
now. You know, like I want to finish Berkeley, do like everything right, have my degree, and then like start my career. And things started happening while I was at Berkeley, and I could manage to do it. I got in Vital Remains. I did like 2 tours with them. We played 2 festivals. I could manage with my professors. For the Iron Morbid tour, we toured with Iron Morbid and Atrocity like last May.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to leave Berkeley like 3 weeks before we finished the semester. So I did all my finals a month beforehand. Like it was crazy, but I could manage to do it, and it was all good.
I'm sure they're sympathetic about those
They
kinds of
are,
things. I mean, that's
they
why you're
are, they
there
are.
after all. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that makes sense. Of
no,
all,
they're pretty chill.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So besides, like, I'm just trying to kind of figure out your routine, right? So you wake up
Okay.
like in the you wake up, you do your cardio, you know.
Yeah, I wake
Hmm.
up, I do my cardio, then I do before my workout I do 2 meals. So I come back, I cook some eggs. I do like 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs and 3 whites. Then I chill for like 2 hours. I do some work, try to like respond some emails. Then I eat again. Then I have my first like my pre-workout meal. Normally it's like around 100 grams of rice with 120 grams of like any protein, chicken, meat, pork chops, what I have. Then I wait for my brother here in Orlando. We go to the gym together. We work out. We come back. We do the post-workout meal. Then I cook because my brother is horrible at cooking, so I cook every day all the meals
Hmm.
for us, and then he clean all the dishes.
Good deal.
Yeah. So then I come back. I cook a bunch of food. Then I need to do more 4 meals after the workout. So it's basically like doing some work in between meals. I eat, I do some work, come back, I eat, back to work. Then like this whole thing, and then I go to sleep.
So as far as like working, like how what are you currently doing as far as like income generation?
So right now I'm looking for jobs because I just graduated, and as like an international student, I can only work in something related to my major.
Mm.
So I can't just like imagine this pandemic wasn't happening. Imagine like I can't go to a Starbucks and start working there to get some money, like because I'm international. I need
Oh,
to be hired in a studio, for example. So
interesting.
I'm working on this right now. I'm messaging a bunch of people, applying for jobs, and right now I'm glad I'm not paying rent because I'm with my brother,
Mm.
so that's good. So right now I'm trying to stabilize my life.
I hear you. Do you teach?
I'm giving some guitar lessons. I have like a few students right now. With this pandemic, it's being hard to get more,
Yeah.
but it's good. It's a solid income that I can like buy my supplements, buy my food.
No, I hear that. I hear that. It's yeah, no, it's an interesting it's an interesting time to be like an early like just to have just graduated or to be graduating at the moment. A lot of students are going through this kind of thing right now where it's like, this is an unprecedented period. No,
Yeah,
this is something that's supposed to be like a period where you're supposed to kind of be taking off at this time in your life, but then it's just like the world is just resting. So
yeah.
mhm.
So yeah, I've been waiting like responses from studios and stuff. There is like one studio in Boston that I think I'm confident I'm gonna get it, so I'm like praying for it.
What are you hoping to do there?
I'm open to do like engineering, assistant engineering. I know they have like staff for like arrangements and production for jingles. I'm opening for this. I'm also opening for post production. I have knowledge in mixing 5.1, like finding sounds, backgrounds, recording ADR, like anything related to audio.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I remember when I was coming out of audio school, that was all the kind of things I was looking
Yeah.
for. But I ended up.
And I,
Hmm.
and if there is no option, if I need to be a runner, I'll be a runner. There's no way around,
Sometimes you have to start there. Even though you have like the experience, you have like you have the knowledge, right? You need to build up a little bit more clout,
Yeah.
and show people that that you're reliable
Yeah.
in some fashion, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
people it's hard for people to humble themselves, especially after taking so much time to like learn their craft, and then they have to start from such a low point. That's just what it is in this industry. Like, you can have amazing skills at the craft, but then you're running coffee for a few months.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's part of it.
it is. It is. It's humbling. But it'll. Yeah, it's just that's like the. Oh, I forgot. What do you call that? Like the rite of passage, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay. So that but you have these projects you're working with, right? And you guys
Yeah,
tour.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So right now, I have Vital that like I don't know when we're gonna tour again, but like Vital is a good source of like touring. Like the last year, I did 2 tours: one European tour, one US tour.
mhm.
We played a festival in Finland, and we did a festival in the US. So it was pretty good. And now like I'm finishing this project that I'm like already. I have like 1, 2 labels interested, so I'm working with this, like spending a lot of time responding emails and figuring all this stuff out. That is like you need to read everything out, like make sure everything is good, correct. So I've been doing this a lot right now.
Mhm.
uh, and I also have like, do you know Chris Dovas, the drummer of Seven Spires?
Mhm.
He just released his solo project, like a death metal project, and I recorded a couple of like guest solos for him. And now I'm like working on the next record with him. I'm part of the band, so we're gonna start playing whenever everything opens up again. So right now I have like Dovas, Vital, and my project that I still didn't announce the name. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you have your hands full. You know.
yeah, yeah, a lot of stuff to record.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as you have a good sort of system of working through your day, then you can get a lot done. Some musicians are extremely prolific, and it's because they're conscientious enough to kind of to put in the time, to
Yeah,
work and not get lazy, you know, because there's just so much you can do. But of course, it's tough in that, like, some of the stuff it's unpaid, or it
yeah,
does, or you don't get money until like you tour or something like that. Um,
yeah.
so yeah.
And you were talking about production, like being productive. And during this pandemic, I realized that there are some cycles that happens to everyone that I talked, my musicians friends. Like there are some weeks that we are like on fire, we are writing a lot, going like crazy. But
Hmm.
there are like some weeks that we're just like not productive at all. Like even if you try, nothing comes out of you.
Yeah.
It's crazy how like it can spike like the productivity like during these crazy times.
Hmm. And what do you think? Do you think there's a particular factor that you can point to that's causing that, or something that causes you to be more productive?
Maybe sometimes like you see you're like in this cycle that is the same every single day. You can get lost for like some time, and then you realize like what I'm doing, like let's come back to work. This happened to me a little bit. Like when it started, I was super productive. Then throughout the middle of it, I got kind of lost a little bit. I was finishing my semester at Berkeley, so I was focusing on just doing my projects, but I wasn't doing anything extra. I was just like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm just gonna finish with this, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna come back to it. But I didn't have a lot of stuff to do. It was just like I was just finishing my projects, like working like you know 1 hour a day doing something, nothing crazy. But then when I graduated and I came here to Orlando, I was like, no, I need to start get things done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, getting. I think that's a tough thing for some people to sort of get into that groove, of just regular work, and in a way that it's healthy, where they feel like this is what they do. And there's a really great book, The War of Art. You ever heard of it? Not The Art of
No, no,
War.
never.
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's a book on procrastination. It's a book on creative procrastination. So he's an author, obviously, because he wrote a book. but he, but he writes about just creative people having all kinds of resistance to getting work done, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes that's what gets us in those funks of like weeks at a time. So it's systems that get us out of that. Like basically like a routine. Like I get up, I do this, I do this, I do this, right? Like right now, your routine is health based in the morning. Same for me, right? But then right after that, it's creative for me, right? Um, so I wake up to like to own my day. You know, I meditate, I journal, and then I go maybe swing some kettlebell outside in the grass, like without clothing on, so I can get like some serious like
So,
sun, you know, vitamin
yeah.
D, and grounding, you know, with the earth and all of that. And then I'll pop in the sauna for 20 minutes. I have a sauna, and then jump in a cold shower, and only then sit down and start to like be productive and whatever, right? But that's just kind of like my little routine.
Nice.
And in that time, I'm not checking my phone. I'm like, well, actually, that's not true. When I'm in the sauna, I'm like a little bit, you know, maybe working
Yeah.
some social media, or whatever, until my phone starts to overheat. And anyway, but my whole point here is that, you know, having like some kind of systems in place help, like, you know, help you have some kind of regularity. If you do something similar every morning, that gives your mind some stability, and from that you can sort of start to build on, like, build other routines. But if you don't have stability, if everything is different, you wake up, you look at your phone, and you're just led wherever you're led throughout the day without any direction, without any intention, then it can really easily end up like being weeks without any productivity.
Yeah, I realized that this bodybuilding lifestyle helps me a lot to
Yeah.
be focused because everything is timed, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I have time to eat 6 meals. So what I'm gonna do in between the meals, it's not like, okay, so I came back from the gym and then I lay down on the sofa and then I sit hours past and I didn't do anything. Like I sit down for like 30 minutes and okay, so when is the next time I need to eat? And when is the next time I need to do this? So like in between this meal and the next one, I'm gonna try to write something. I'm gonna respond this email, you know, like
Right.
so I have these breaks, you know, when you're like studying guitar and you're in the metronome for like 4 hours and you're like you need a break. So my
Yeah.
meals like are these breaking times that I like I stand up, I stretch my legs, I get my meal, make some coffee, you know, like so it's really good for me because I have these pauses that are already established for me to relax my mind, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a big point. You see, the bodybuilding thing, people might think like, oh, why spend time doing that? But that trains your mind as much as it trains your body.
Yeah. And even for like not wasting time, like for me a second counts. For example, if my coach tells me like you need to do an hour of cardio, I'm not going to stop at 59, 58. It's going to be an hour. Like even if does it change something like like significant? No, it doesn't. If you stop 2 seconds before, but like I stop right on the dot.
It's a
I
slippery
do
slope. Yeah.
yeah, everything perfect. Like all the pills I need to take every day, there are time for them. And I take a lot of them, a lot of vitamins, a lot of like specific stuff. So it's like everything helps me to know where I am throughout my day.
Right. Yeah. No, that's critical. It's critical to be able to, like, you know, I think living on a schedule is a really good thing. You know, people make a bad, you know, they say bad things about that. They think that, oh, it's too rigid, it's totalitarian, this, that, the other thing, and they live more like, say, flexibly. But what happens is that they have these long periods of, you know, unproductive time. You know,
Yeah.
now, not everyone needs to, you know, be as regimented as that, but having some systems in place, some regularity is really important.
Yeah. I I had a lot of friends at Berkeley that they were like, "Oh, how do you have time to go to the gym twice a day? I don't have time to breathe. I don't have time to do this and that." And I'm just thinking like if you actually stop for 5 minutes and think the time you waste just by looking to your phone or just, you know, like you can fit all these hours in. Like like I see people like being like complaining about not being able to do things, but like sitting their ass on the sofa, while they're complaining. I'm like, man, come on, like if you actually wake up a little bit before you you normally wake up and go to the gym, do your cardio and do like whatever you want, you can do it. You just manage your time in between like your appointments.
Right. So let me ask you this: when you toured, how did you manage your fitness?
Okay, so the first tour, uh, the European tour last year, I didn't manage. I was just like, I'm go- fuck it, I'm gonna enjoy the tour because it was my first European tour, like
Right.
first tour in a tour bus. So I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy this time, and I completely fucked up my body. I was like, oh, when I
How
came
bad?
back,
Yeah.
bad, really bad, really bad. Because then I had like a family vacation, and then we went to Los Angeles. It was a mess. I was pretty good, and then my body fat went all the way up, and I was like, okay, here you go. Let's start all this process again of cutting. But I've done it before. Like it's like when I get to these levels of like high body fat because I just let it go for a little bit. I know that like in 3 months I'm back. So it was like a time that I don't regret because it was great.
Yeah.
I did whatever I wanted on the tour. It was amazing. But then, like on the US tour, I was more focused. So it was 3 weeks of touring. I had my whey protein on the luggage, my protein bars on all the like morning stops to get coffee on McDonald's or like any fast food. I usually get salads. Like they have salads, so like you can easily get some chicken with salad and then eat. Get some protein bars throughout the day on the venue. If they don't have something good, I didn't eat. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna eat. I'm just gonna put more protein bars down
Hmm.
because sometimes they're like, oh, we have burgers, sandwiches, French fries. What do you want? I'm like, nah, I'm fine. But then I got super sick on this tour
Oh.
because I had like strep throat and high fever. Then to manage the diet was harder. I couldn't even eat. Like it was bad. The last week and a half of the tour, it was like hard.
Do you have a green powder in your stack?
What do you mean a green powder?
Like just super greens, like just like a the mix of like spirulina, chlorella, and just things like that. Just
Okay.
greens, like
Yeah, I eat a lot of vegetables
right.
in
But
all
I
my meals. So,
but as far as like a supplement,
supplements, I have like a lot of like different antioxidants, pills and stuff
okay,
that I take. So I would say I have it like I take like per day. I would say like more than 10 pills of different stuff.
sure.
So
But when you're like one thing when I recommend people when they're touring is having a green powder with them. Something that's like really dense. It's like eating this much vegetables like in one scoop.
okay,
Right. I think athletic greens is a really good one. They're pretty mobile, and they're pretty recommended for travel purposes. And there's all kinds of stuff. There's stuff there that you would not even eat.
yeah,
Like all kinds of like a wide spectrum of greens. I prefer to get things from like whole sources, right? So, um, as far as that's concerned, like it's, like if you take vegetables and you juice them, you get just a little bit of juice, and so
yeah.
that powder in particular is it's not just like powdered whole vegetables because
It's
that's
the
what
concentrates of like
yes
what
of the
it's
juice,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
powdered juice, right?
yeah,
Exactly. So it's really good stuff. Yeah. So like when I was on tour, I forced my band to drink that. Like everybody
yeah.
drank that. Just
And
be.
I
Mhm.
and I won't lie, like I brought my pills, but there were some days that I forgot to take. So
Sure.
like then my immune system got kind of like, wait, what is going on? You're not taking your pills, like. And it was cold, like, the loading and loadouts. And then like I think
Hmm.
I got from like a loadout that it was really cold. I didn't have my jacket. I was just like, fuck it, like I just wanted to put everything into the trailer and leave. So I was like just on my t-shirt. So I think from that I got sick.
Yeah, maybe that like you were just compromised Sure. You know, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's really tough. I mean, even if you do play your you play your cards right, it's we get sick on tour if they're long enough. Um, issue is like you don't get enough good sleep on tour. Um, even if you have enough time sleeping, like it just, you know, if you're sleeping in a strange place, the body will get half the REM sleep, and it just sleep quality suffers majorly, and over time that's going to like tax your immune system and all of that.
yeah. And something that I always feel that like I take glutamine every day,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel whenever I stop taking for some reason, I get sick. It's crazy how
Mm.
glutamine makes my immune system be so like steady, and whenever I don't take it, like I feel that there are high chances for me to get sick.
Did you get sick a lot as a kid?
Like when I was a kid, actually yes, but like normally I just get like sore throat type of sickness. That's the only thing I get sick. My throat gets all weird, and I get high fever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get anything like other than that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, like that's one of those things. It's like it's hard, and that makes touring that much more difficult. You know, like you have to manage your health on the road, right? So,
Yeah.
how about training?
Training on this specific tour, I couldn't do anything. Like I tried to stop in a gym and pay for the day membership, but like it was just so tight that I couldn't.
Right.
Like I just like managed to eat well, and that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I usually just carry. I have bands with me, and those you can wrap around pretty much anything,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you know, anything stable, and get a workout in. Um, like the type that kind of goes into the door.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So those are pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, like the more you tour, the more you start doing that, and
yeah,
it's definitely good practice. Yeah, that's one of the things that's just part of the reason I started the show. It's like musicians beat themselves up, and if they're touring all the time, you know, then and they don't have these kinds of habits, you know, or you know they're not mindful to these kinds of things, then it shortens their career. So it's a good idea to get these areas kind of taken care of, right?
yeah. Yeah, I still didn't have like a tour long enough that I like. For example, if I had like a 2 months tour, then I would say, oh, like 2 months without working out. That's like okay, that's different. But it was like 3 week tours. I was like, okay, I can manage without it. The first one I did, it was the European one. I was like, okay, bringing all this stuff to Europe, and like carrying all this for 3 weeks. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna chill. But like for the next ones, I'm really gonna like bring stuff with me and make sure like I work out, and
Yeah,
because I actually want to compete next year.
yeah. Tell me about
And
that. Like, what's your plans with the bodybuilding?
so right now I don't know, because I know if I want to pursue bodybuilding for real, I need to like go to a doctor and make like check all my health up, and like start using steroids and stuff. But like with a doctor and everything, because if I want to get high level, we know that in bodybuilding the high level everyone uses, like there's no way around. But I think like imagine I'm doing everything correct, I'm taking everything, and I'm improving my body a lot, and then a tourist comes up, then I don't know what to do, because then I need to stop taking, then I need to do like start doing the cycle to start producing testosterone back, but then I won't have time because of the tour. So right now
Mm.
I'm still afraid to start this process, because if a tourist comes up, I'm fucked. So
So do you because you know there are branches of bodybuilding that are not, you know, that are more like a
I'm
natural bodybuilding. You wouldn't go down that route.
I don't know. Like if I'm gonna compete, I want to compete like for real, like with the big guys. But if not, like I still don't know if I'm gonna compete. But
Mm-hmm.
if I do, I wanna get to that level. So right now I'm chill. I'm working out. I'm doing all my dieting correct. I'm natural. Like I'm still not worrying about this right now. But if
Sure.
I say no, like I want to have this in my life, and I want to compete for real, then I'm gonna do everything right. I'm going
It,
to the doctor.
mhm.
I'm like
It's interesting because like it seems like because it's such a regimented thing. It's a regimented thing, and it's a consuming lifestyle, of course. And touring is likewise consuming and also unpredictable because there's so many other people involved. And so they seem fundamentally incompatible. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a music career, right?
Yeah.
If you would want to kind of couple the two, and this is where things get interesting. We live in a time when people can have their income come from other places than just touring and merchandise, right? You can build a following, and you have built some following, and you continue to build a following online, and then you can have merch on there. You can create products and services that are digital and that can support you, and so therefore you don't need to tour as often.
Yeah.
Um, and then you can sort of have like a very particular time where you set that sort of works in sync with your bodybuilding. Maybe during a bulking season, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or even during a cut. Oh, who knows? When it would be best to tour, and it's hard either way because on the road,
Yeah.
you just don't
I
have
would
the control.
Yeah, I would say whenever you are on the road, like if like you're cutting, just try to maintain your diet, nothing crazy, even like increase the calories a little bit just for like your immune system. And if you're booking, just reduce and try to like be on a steady line, because trying to eat the amount of food you need for booking, it's impossible on a
Yeah.
tour. And if you're on a tour, you're gonna be like tired all the time, and like because you know how the sleeping schedules are, and if you're still restricting calories, your immune system is going to be even more.
Yeah, you're gonna be shot.
Yeah, so
Maybe the best time to tour is right after a show.
yeah,
Because
maybe.
and do like that's what you're doing then. That's it. And then like when you come back, then you start a bulk or a cut or something or it would be a bulk at that point.
Yeah,
Um, it's kind of a dirty bulk when you're on tour or something like that, and then you sort of clean it up as you come back. I don't know.
yeah, because I
Mhm.
know there are some bodybuilders that like right after the show, they because you know how like the steroids have like a half-life even afterwards, you take like they keep in your blood system for a while, so they stop taking it to clean their body up, and then whenever the peak is down, they start taking it again to like bring the levels of testosterone back. So maybe, but yeah, maybe like right after like a show like touring could be interesting.
Yeah, I was just thinking like, okay, if one were to balance pro IFBB bodybuilding and touring on a world class level, like what that timing would actually look like, like when
Yeah,
when would you do what, and in my head, like that's the first thing that popped up. It's like, okay, maybe like right post show is like the time to tour, and then you start prepping. But it depends on how often you want to compete as well.
yeah, and also like I don't know how often I'm gonna tour, or like because I want to be like an engineer, I want to be in the studio.
Okay.
So touring is already harder being an engineer.
Sure. I mean, if you
But
want
I
to
want to,
focus on that, then that's not a problem at all.
yeah, but also like I have all these projects, these bands that I play, and like I also love being a guitar player, like so I can't just let it go because it's part of me.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Like I want to try to like conciliate studio, touring, my bodybuilding routine and stuff, and if possible compete. But I'm still like not sure how this is gonna work out.
Yeah. I can relate to you in that I do a few different things that seem to conflict with one another as well, and it's sometimes I just have to kind of sit down in an armchair and just kind of think and think on paper for a while and just kind of plan things out and think like, okay, well, sometimes I need to cut things off because I have too much going on, right? And then focus on maybe two or three things at most.
Yeah,
Otherwise you drive yourself crazy and you spread yourself too thin.
yeah, you're right.
So you want to have your health at the end of the day, and so having the with that in mind, not to drive yourself too crazy, to be able to enjoy the things you are doing, you need to do just a few things that matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was remembering here that I might tour as an engineer as well. Like, like making sound for bands. That's something that I actually really like. So I might be touring as a guitar player, as an engineer, so it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But right now I'm just gonna like see how things are going, and if I decide to compete in the next year or so, then I think about it,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's also a thing where it's like you don't have to do everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you can sort of align to whatever opportunities you have in that moment, and then, and then just take, you don't have, it doesn't have to be always like everything I'm into has to happen exactly at the same time,
Yeah. And there is this thing that like, whenever people like ask me, like when I say that I kind of want to like start using like steroids and all this stuff, even knowing that it's bad. People are like, man, but that's not healthy. And my only question is like, I do bodybuilding not for my health. Actually, the health comes with it right now, but I do for the aesthetics right now. In my head, the aesthetics comes above the health for me. So if I need to start taking to compete and try to be a pro on this, I will. Not that I'm doing right now, but like if I want to get to this pro level, I will do it. Doesn't matter if my health is gonna be like in the middle of it, like there are ways you can do that to make your health be good even if you're doing it. You need to do it right. Like I know I have friends that do it without going to the doctors, and they're just destroying their whole system. And I think that's not right. But if you have if you know what you're doing and you know the risk of it and you're taking care of it, I don't see a problem if you're willing to do it,
Yeah, no,
that's how I see things,
I hear you, and I wouldn't hold any of that against you, because I'm aware of that world and of that kind of pursuit, and of course you're gonna have critics and all that, and as long as you stay forthright, you stay honest, that's all it is, like you're having this conversation openly, and a lot of people are having this conversation openly now. It's no longer cat's out of the bag, people know that this is just part of the sport, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. And just like I want to bring the myth of people saying like you only get big and like get shredded if you take steroids. No, that's also a lie.
Right.
The only thing that they're gonna do, they're gonna like improve like how fast you can like get the gains, like
it's recovery.
If you don't diet, if you don't do a proper workout and you take steroids, nothing's gonna happen. Like you're not gonna get big.
Right.
You're not gonna get like where you want. Diet and the working out is on top of like anything you're taking.
Right.
Like you need to get that level of intensity on the workout to be able to use what you have in your system in a good way.
Right. I mean, if anything, like workout, like people think steroids, like, it's like cheating. It's like, no, actually it allows you to work out more because you can recover faster and you can gain more from it.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people start using steroids, but like their muscle mind connection and all these things are not ready yet. So in my mind, I'm just gonna think of using steroids if I'm on my peak of my genetic limit. For example, I'm natural and I can't grow more than this. Like, for example, I reached my limit as a natural person. Then I'm gonna start. I don't want to like step over like the process,
Yeah.
I see people like super skinny guys that start working out for 2 months and they're like, oh, I think it's time. Just, like takes years. I work out for 5-6 years now.
Right.
And I still think that I didn't reach the genetic peak that my body has.
You probably have some good time left before you reach that.
More like some years. So I don't know, like actually I was thinking about competing natural for this next year or so. But the only thing about competing natural is like whenever you get to that level of like getting lean and reducing body fat, then your hormones get crazy. Then you
Oh yeah.
drop all your testosterone. And I don't want to get to this level, because natural, then you just destroy your body. Like, you burn all your muscle, and then you become super skinny. And, like, I don't know if it's worth to compete natural,
Hmm.
you know,
Interesting.
because you can't maintain your lean muscles if you start cutting that hard.
Well,
Your body's gonna.
I would look into fasting a little bit more, because fasting really is muscle sparing, right? So I've seen a guy, well, in the study, who, I mean, they're talking about like a long fast, right? And I wouldn't recommend this on a general basis, because I mean, fasted 30 days, lost lost 60 pounds, right? And 50, what was it, 59.7 of that was from fat.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's crazy.
that is crazy, yeah. And so, like, there's some real promise to it, and it's one thing that the bodybuilding world is just very has shunned away. It's very on the six meal thing, right?
But there's
Mm-hmm.
something about fasting and stuff like this that, like, for example, he fasted for 30 days. What about afterwards? He's gonna start eating again.
Yeah.
And then people that like do drastic things, they can't just like chill and start eating correct. They are probably gonna start like eating a lot again. If you do something
Yeah.
drastic,
You have
drastic
to
is gonna happen.
gradually come out of that kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
believe on the 6 meal thing, because you are slowly reducing the calories. I could eat 3 times a day if I know it doesn't change anything up, but because like we work out, we get hungry more often. Even if I had, like, for example, I'm eating 2,000 calories today. If I had 3 meals and I ate these 3 meals, I think I would feel hungrier more often than the 6 meals, because right now I eat 1 meal, and then I know that after 2 or 3 hours I can eat another one, even if I start getting hungry. But if I eat 3 meals, I need to wait like 6 hours for the next one. And if you're bringing this level of intensity on the workout, you're gonna get hungry.
Yeah.
So dividing the meals, it makes like this part easier.
Yeah. No, and that works for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it works for a lot of people. Like, I found, like, if I, especially if I'm cutting, I prefer to have bigger meals and then fewer and closer together, and then kind of like do like 2 meals and then fast 16 hours, fast 18, 20 hours, right? That kind of thing, where it's almost
Yeah.
OMAD.
Yeah.
And that helps me as far as, like, I can eat the same amount of calories, but I'll lose more weight because of the because of the ketosis and stuff I'll be in, that I'll be in the next morning, and then doing the fasted work, fasted cardio, whatever.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
like, there's so many things, man. All these variables.
I know. I've done intermittent fasting before. Like, the only thing is like the way out. For example, if you're gonna make intermittent fasting your lifestyle, then that's something else, because I know there's studies about like how you can be more productive and how your mind you can focus more with intermittent fasting and stuff, but then you need to commit to it. Like, I'm gonna have this lifestyle. But if you're doing just like, for example, summer is coming and I wanna like burn fat, and then, for example, you do this for a month, and on the way back, your body's gonna get much worse, because you did this for a month and then you start eating more, and like, then you dismiss the whole purpose of fasting,
Right. Well,
because
the way I view fasting, by the way, I mean, like, because I'm a big eater, right? Like, it's hard for me to eat small meals. Like, it's very difficult for me to eat small meals. Like, I if I eat, and
Yeah.
and so like, and people who people who are okay with eating small meals, then your technique is the best, right? You just kind of spread them out. For me, it's like, I'll have these like big meals, and then I'll have space, right? And if I eat a lot, then I just fast longer, right? So
Yeah.
if I eat enough calories for 2 days, I'll just skip a day of food, So and I'm used to it, right? It is a lifestyle for me. So
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like,
Nice.
you know.
Yeah. The only thing about big meals for me is like, for like bodybuilding and stuff, you need to maintain a really slim waistline. And then when
Uh-huh.
you eat like a lot, like a big amount of food, your stomach, you like,
Oh yeah, I mean
there is this thing.
for a day, you're gonna be a little bloated. Yeah.
So like the idea to maintain like a really slim waistline
Right.
and like dividing the meals. And actually, I'm also like, I'm a big eater, but like I acknowledge that, for example, when I eat, I know the insulin is like, it's in my like, it's flowing in my body, and like it's giving that like desire to eat more, but I just hold it, and I think like, I know it's the insulin acting in my body. Just wait for 10 minutes, it's gonna be over, and you're gonna be all good, you know.
Mm.
So knowing what the hormones do to your body to make you feel hungry helps, because you think about
Oh
it.
yeah.
You know, like, okay, so now this is happening. You know, like I ate this, so now I need to wait a certain amount of time for this to be over.
I think something that someone can gain from this conversation is that it's about not being a slave to your like urges and to your body's little signals, and to just understand them better, you know, to know that like, okay, this is just a temporary little feeling, but I have this plan set in place, and this is what I'm
Yeah.
going to do, and just going through that. It's great, you know, like just it's so empowering, because then you're no longer like, you know, you're like, oh, you're a little hungry, and then you just go eat some like thing you shouldn't eat, right? And instead, like, you have like this feeling, and you acknowledge, oh, okay, that's just that thing doing its thing, and then it just passes, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like a thought popping up when you're meditating. It's like just
Yeah.
this little.
And I would say the hardest thing for people that are starting
Mm-hmm.
to work out and try to like do a proper dieting,
Mm-hmm.
like normally, I would say the like normal people don't eat the like enough amount of proteins per day. Basically, carbs, they are always high for like normal people, and then I
Yeah.
would say if you think about protein and fat, the protein was supposed to be here and the fat was supposed to be here, and it's kind of like reversed.
Yeah.
The protein is super low and it's like carbs and fats high.
Yeah.
And then that makes your like sensibility for insulin horrible.
Yeah.
So I think the hardest, that's why the first month or 2 months are the hardest, because you need to adapt your body and make your body use insulin in the correct way.
Yeah.
To just get the carbs and the water and store as glycogen in your muscle, and not transfer this into fat.
Right.
And takes time for your body to understand.
Right. Now,
And that's what I told Adrian when I gave her the first diets. Just stick up for this first 2 or 3 months, make your body understand what is going on and relearn some things. Then you're gonna start seeing real results, you know, like, but you need to wait and be calm for this like transitional period, you know.
yeah. No, definitely. And I think to bring this kind of down to the ground level for people who don't have much background in fitness but want to maintain their health, we should give some kind of pointers to that. And one thing is like, yeah, you need to you can't just jump into something crazy like this. You need to like really have this period of adapting and getting used to these certain habits, right? And just gradually getting into these things, and not ending up being like a resolutioner, you know, that pops up in the gym January 1st and is gone like, you know, 2 weeks later. So I think learning to know your body and to own the little signals that it gives you, whether it's the insulin response or hunger or whatever it may be, you know, and not to be so responsive to that, you know, to have a plan and kind of stick to it, and then you'll adjust to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else
Yeah.
would you tell like somebody who, like, let's say wouldn't even want to go into bodybuilding or anything like that, but really just wants to kind of stay lean?
I have like the process that I think it's the best. I believe you can't start doing everything at once. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is like, without working out, there's no way you can like recoup like the fibers and like gain muscle. So the first thing, get in the habit of working out. Don't even think about dieting. The fact that you're starting working out, you're going to start making smarter choices just by that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people, like, the common sense is like, protein is good. People know protein is like people like can connect protein with building muscle, so people start working out 3 times a week. They're going to start eating a little bit more protein. Oh, I'm not going to eat that candy. I'm not going to so just by that, getting the habit of working out is going to save like 50% of time for them. Then after a month or two, if they really want to start thinking about dieting, just like try to establish amount of meal per day. Like I'm going to eat 3 meals per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Think about like when you see your plate, like let's think about it like a hand of protein, a little bit of carbs, some veggies. Then if you want to step up counting macros, then when like you really start like manipulating small things to see real results. But like this whole process needs to happen before you count macros.
Right. I tell people, as far as protein's concerned, I'm like, you should be getting 0.7 grams per pound of lean body mass, or even for of body weight,
Yeah.
So basically, like for me, I'm like, what am I now? Like 182 or something like that. Like getting in like, let's say like 110, 120 grams, just as a minimum would be fine, if I'm, depending on my goals, right? But like that should be like a baseline,
Yeah.
And then from there, maybe if I'm really kind of trying to build muscle, then maybe at least like say a pound of lean, per gram of lean body mass, or even a pound of for my weight, right? So basically 180 grams. So it's a hard thing to take in that amount of protein for the average person. So 0.7 is pretty manageable for most, right? If they get themselves a decent whey, something like that, and they incorporate like a little post-workout shake, 2 scoops.
Yeah, you're saying 0.7 per pound, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because normally I think in kilos, so I was trying to. No, but I got it.
Yeah.
In kilos, I would say it's in between like 1.7 to 2.5 for like a normal. I would say like less than 2.5 per like normal person.
Right.
Then if you start like getting like more like, there is this graphic that shows like the average like amount of like muscle a normal people has on this age and stuff. If you're like on the average, like you maintain this like 1.5 to like 2, but if you're like above the average, then you need to start increasing a little bit more protein because you have like more muscle to fuel with like amino acids and stuff.
Right. The idea from a chemical point of view is like you need a positive nitrogen balance, right? You need to maintain that. You need a constant uptake of amino acids if you're trying to build muscle, right?
Yeah.
So
and also talking about building muscle, people think that carbs they're the evil, like don't eat carbs, like carbs are more important than protein to build muscle, I would say. Without carbs, you don't, like, the proportion is like 1 to 4. You need 4 grams of carbs to 1 of protein to build like muscle. So that's why people are bulking. Why like carbs increase a lot and fat decreases a lot. Why? Because you need like to like it's hard to explain in English for me. I learned all this stuff in Portuguese, so I'm trying to like but basically you need carbs, they are good. If you eat carbs that don't become sugar that fast in your blood, they're good carbs, like you should have them, you don't need to be afraid.
They're not all carbs are made equally. We're not talking about just like candy or white bread here, just the slower digesting carbs, complex carbs and stuff like that. Like I function a little better on slightly lower carb, right? And I've done keto and it works well for me. But if you're really trying to put on muscle, right? For me, it's like if you have a lot of fat on you, you don't need so much carbs, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, you need to prioritize burning that fat, and I think keto is a great thing for that, just because it like gets you in a state of using that fat as fuel, and then you get down to a lean weight, and if you want to put on a lot of muscle, then when you're lean, you put on muscle better.
And of course.
Yeah, and when I say lean, I mean like 10-11% body fat, or even lower, right? Depending on how shredded you want to get. But like when you're down at low body fat percentages, then you'll be more insulin sensitive.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and because the problem is that people who have because I don't want to give people who have like who are already who want to put lose a bunch of weight and gain muscle the idea that like, oh, okay, yeah, you want to have a bunch of carbs. It's like, no,
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 yeah, you're right,
yeah,
you're right.
yeah, the insulin sensitivity needs to first increase, and so that's why I get the way that I would start. There was a really good book that I went through a program with I think it was Men 2.0 Engineering the Alpha. Really, really good book. That's John Romoleo, and he talks about, he starts it as pretty much keto for a few weeks, and then it just gradually adds a little bit of carbs, a little bit more, and then like by like it's a 16-week thing, and like by the 4th month you're taking in a bunch of carbs, but your body is well adapted to use them properly.
Yeah, and I felt this like personally, like when I finished cutting in April, I think I was around like 8% of body fat. I was like super lean. And when I started like increasing carbs again, the simple fact of having a meal with high carbs, I felt pumped.
Oh, yeah.
I could see it's great when you see that your body is using carbs the right way, and you feel full. This sensation is the best. But then like for people that like still need to burn fat, like there's a long process for like getting your hormones to be working with like the amount of body fat you have. So like I would say my suggestion is just like take it easy in the beginning, and and I would say the key factor to like reduce weight is just like, if you consuming X amount of calories, you need to be like burning more, throughout the day. You need to be like your activity, because like there is like the metabolic calories that you burn just by like sleeping,
basal metabolic rate.
Yeah, the metabolic rate plus what you do in your day. So you need to eat less than this to be able to like drop weight. And that's the main thing I would say. If you want to gain weight, that is like gain muscle, you need to eat more.
And so like and I wouldn't do much more than like a 500 calorie plus or minus on that, just because you go too low, then you start slowing down your metabolic rate. You go too high, and then you start gaining too much fat.
Yeah, that's why I really like cycling carbs when you're cutting, because you are like super low in calories, and when your metabolism is starting to slow down, you throw like a high carb day.
Yeah.
Then your body's gonna be like, what is going on? Let's increase again. So like I think cycling carbs, it's a good way to have like a steady and fast body fat burning body fat per week.
Right.
And like not fucking with your metabolism,
Right. Yeah. And that program that I was talking about, it includes carb cycling and fasting and all kinds of stuff. Like everything that I know to work, it incorporates everything systematically. So it's very cool.
Nice.
And one thing that it did, like in the second phase of the program, where the carbs are like kind of starting to get like low to moderate, like on rest days, it's pretty low, like almost like keto level, and then on workout days it's like moderate, but then and then there's a cheat day, right? Or there's a cheat or a refeed kind of day where you go nuts, and you eat all the things that you wanted to eat, and then the next day you don't eat at all, right? So the idea is like you ramp up the metabolism because it's been low and leptin levels have been dropping, and then like you spike that, and then your metabolic rate jumps through the roof, and then you don't eat the next day, and you burn like 2-3 pounds of fat. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then you go back.
I would say this. I love the concept of cheat meals, but people need to like really understand why they are good. You need to be constant in your diet. You can't like to have a cheat meal, like a good one, eat whatever you want for one meal. You can't fuck up in your diet at all. And normally I would say if you someone that is not used to do a diet, they're going to do 80% of it. They won't be able to do 100%. So cheat meals are not that good for it, because you're already breaking the diet a little bit every day, you know.
Hmm.
So when I was cutting, I had a cheat meal every a month and a half. I think that's for endomorphs, that's like a good amount of time if you want to cut. Because like if you do, like I did a calculation, like 6 meals a day, this means that you're doing 42 meals a week. So for you to be able to do one cheat meal that you're going to actually see benefits of burning fat and increasing your metabolism, you need like more than like 100 meals solid doing every day, you know. Because then I don't want to give the illusion to people that like they can do like a cheat meal every week and they're not gonna be conflicting with the results, you know.
Yeah. No,
Like,
here I wouldn't. You see, having a cheat meal and no counterbalance to that
yeah,
would just end up just backsliding, right? Which is why I mean
yeah,
that there's that fast that happens after that. So you're basically just that meal is just a few meals, you know, like
yeah.
that's the idea of that.
Yeah, because I
Hmm.
have friends that like whenever they start on dieting, they like to kind of like say, oh no, I had a cheat meal just to, because then they
That's
believe they're still on
excuses.
diet. Yeah,
Yeah.
excuses, you know, like so.
Yeah.
The main point is, for me, is cheat meal is good. It's awesome when it's done right. You know,
Yeah.
like I remember this day that I did a cheat meal and I lost 2 pounds.
Hmm.
I wake up the next day 2 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So it can work, but needs to be done like
You need to be
on the
strict.
dot. You know,
Yeah.
like
Hmm. Yeah. No. Totally. Totally.
actually today is my cheat meal. Like now
Oh,
that I'm booking, my coach gave me a cheat meal every 15 days, and I'm excited. I'm gonna have like a chest workout and then destroy like a burger.
that's it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna like go to Wendy's, get like one burger, and that's gonna be it.
That's your treat meal. That's it. Just a burger.
Yeah, like a burger with fries, with like soda. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
like
Oh, okay. Like a whole
it's gonna be
meal.
like the whole meal. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, that's moderate. I mean, I've been, I've had like epic cheat
Yeah.
meals.
No, yeah, because now this cheat meal has restrictions. I can't go over 2,000 calories in this meal. So
Oh,
like
okay.
there is
Yeah.
like a restriction for this specific one because
Okay.
I'm gonna have one cheat meal every week now.
Okay.
So like it's just like to boost a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. And it's good. It's good psychologically and it's good
Yeah.
metabolically. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time. So, what would you share? Like one, like we spoke mostly about like fitness and all that because like I feel like that's a strong domain of yours. But what would you share? One message for all musicians.
For all musicians,
Yeah.
like if you're a musician and you're willing to like have a healthy lifestyle, don't be afraid that like this doesn't fit to your reality.
Hmm.
Because I see a lot of people, like a lot of musicians thinking, oh, I'm a musician, I don't have time for this, or like this is not compatible with my lifestyle. No, it is. If you want to be productive being a musician, having like a good amount, like a good nutrients supporting your brain, because it's not only good dieting is not about statics. It's about like when you're eating good, you're feeding all your cells, your like your brain, everything works better when you're eating healthy. So like if you're willing to do it, don't be afraid to do it. It's not that hard. It's just about getting the habit.
That's right. That's right. I agree. I agree. Yeah, that's the most important thing. I mean, that's part of why I got into this whole artist health coaching thing in general because how it affects you as a musician and how it affects your just your general feeling and your also your cognition and everything and just your length of your career, all of those things. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is very cool, and I hope to see you, on stage and all that. Where can people find you online?
Online, I mainly use Instagram for my social media. It's Caio Kehyayan. Uh, and yeah, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to have me on your show. It was great to talk about fitness and like musicianship and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Really cool.
yeah, Kyle. Thanks for being on, and hopefully I run into you soon.
Yeah, yeah. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
Awesome, man. Stay safe.
You too.